Those Days with the Monsters, Part 8.
Kirrel Nacte, Liaison to the Cumans, Report 6. I know this report is several days late. It took me some time to work out what the hell I was going to say. The Cumans are mad. Absolutely mad.
Kirrel closed his inner eyelids with a sigh.
For a while, I was sure this was secretly a military ship, not a commercial one. Did you know the Tizzix have green blood? I didn't. I don't think anybody did. But it was all I could see for a while there. I didn't know how anything with that kind of combatability could possibly just be after trade and money.
He opened his eyes, frills turning slightly red along the spines.
But when I heard the captain discussing whether they could claim bounties for each Tizzix from every sapient civilization with a bounty on them, and how they were going to do it, no, they are definitely after trade and money. Half the bounties they're negotiating are in the form of tech, definitely traders, which is a relief. I don't know what I would tell you if they turned out to be a secret military. Doc told the captain that he wasn't going to try to hide anything about the Tizzix biology from the department. He also told me to say, and I'm quoting this verbatim so don't blame me, that if your department tries to hide it from the military there will be strong words spoken in oxygen. I don't know exactly what that means, but he told me someone out there will get the message, and I'm not arguing with Doc when he has that look on his face. I don't care how much you pay me. Doc said to give you the basic rundown, and I have the sheet here.
Kirrel held up a scrap of some sort of fibrous material with Black Galactic Standard written on it, cleared his throat, and began to read.
The Tizzix are apparently anaerobes. I wasn't sure what that meant. Doc says they don't need to breathe. They do fermentation instead. When he heard about that, the captain asked if that meant they were constantly drunk. Doc says it's more like they're constantly high from what he can tell, but a lot of their nerve tissue degraded so he can't tell for sure. He thinks it produces something like an earth compound the Cumans call, what is it, myth? I don't understand the whole thing, but Doc thinks an all-meat diet makes them addicted to an all-meat diet, and he said it might have something to do with the violence too. The captain cursed a whole lot when he heard that, and said he didn't want to have to make an ethics board on the ship. I don't know what that means, but the captain's been pretty irritated since. But Doc said that fermentation is important because it means poison gas doesn't stop them. I heard some things working on Core 5 about how the Wreck-Hip tried stopping them with chlorine gas, and Crixus knows it didn't help their crew. So if the Tizzix don't need to breathe, then that explains why chlorine didn't save them. Doc seemed to think you needed to know. I don't know if it will help except in a few weird situations where the atmosphere isn't the usual, like on the Cuman ship, but I'm a cargo jockey, not a tactical guy, so I'll listen to Doc on this. I overheard the captain talking about it with Doc, and he said that he was disappointed they didn't just need to unplug an air tank or something. Doc said they'd get a very flammable gas mix in that case, which I guess I can understand. I know my species has to be very careful in atmosphere substitution areas between hydrogen and oxygen boundaries. Can't imagine how much worse it would be in a small contained ship. What I don't understand is why the captain was so disappointed. I mean, they stabbed the Tizzix all to hell, and I don't see why that's different from unhooking an air tank. Cumans have a weird, grim sense of humour though, so maybe it was one of those things they just find funny.
Kirrel sighed and turned his attention back to the sheet.
Did you know they just carry this fibre stuff around with them? I don't know if Grumpy even has a holopad. I think most of the rest of them do, but a lot of the time they'll use this fibre stuff even with a perfectly good holopad in front of them.
His frills flushed purple as he remembered that he had more to do than muse on Cuman oddities.
Right. Doc said that he can't engineer a way to block what he calls Tizzix myth without fresher samples of their neurology. The captain swore a lot again. I don't know if I can pronounce half the words he used. They definitely weren't in the official Cuman lexicon, and he told me I was not allowed to either say them or ask him what they meant. The captain's been in what Sleepy calls a funk since then. It sounds like one of the captain's words, but Sleepy told me they were unrelated.
Kirrel shook the scrap of fibrous stuff and cleared his throat,
The Tizzix appear to be running low on iron and folate, based on their reaction to the captain's blood.
Alarmed red running along the spines of his frills, Kirrel looked hastily back to the holopad to reassure whoever was receiving his reports.
The captain's not dead, I promise. I didn't lose a member of a new species on my first try. They just sampled some blood. The captain tolerated it pretty well, so it's safe to say that a human immune system can handle the Tizzix pathogens, whatever they happen to be, at least for a while. He didn't even flinch.
Kirrel shivered, unsure if it was from awe or fear.
They tasted his blood and he didn't even seem to blink when they did it. It was after that he said they were disgusting, and all the...
He shivered again, this time definitely in fear.
Do you know what it looks like when the group of humans decides to kill something? I do now.
His frills pulsed yellow and red.
They all just looked at the Tizzix, all at once, and I knew they had gone insane. And then they won. I'm sure you'll hear about it if you haven't already by the time you see this message, but they didn't leave a Tizzix alive on their ship, and the captain didn't want to leave any alive on the Tizzix ship either. Every last member of the crew seemed to agree they wanted them dead, and pretty soon they were dead.
Kirrel shook his head slowly.
It was when the Tizzix said the humans would be good stock for a farm, I think. The humans acted like that was the worst thing they'd ever heard. They knew the Tizzix wanted to kill and eat them, but that part didn't seem to bother them. It was the farm that upset them, I think. They didn't seem offended, exactly.
Kirrel's frills turned a slow, deep red.
No, I've seen them be offended. They didn't act like that at all. They just decided it was time to kill.
Hastily, he added,
I asked Doc later, and he said that humans have farms, so I don't know what the problem is. Obviously eating sapients is...
He could feel his frills turning brown with disgust.
It's horrible, but if you accept that's what you eat, and what you eat you put on a farm, then... But the humans did seem to accept that the Tizzix ate sapients, and the farm still made them angry. I don't understand. I also don't understand the constant references to John Brown the captain was making. I'm told he's some kind of person from their history. Doc said to be wary of our very own General Lee, if we were going to be doing any John Browning, but I understand exactly none of that. I think I should learn more about the history of the human homeworld if I'm going to make any sense of it. Sleepy said he wants to introduce me to something called Cinderella. Something about starting me off slowly. I don't understand all of it, but he seems to think it would be better than the one he calls Snow White. The captain did an odd thing with his eyes where they rolled back. I thought he might be having a seizure and was ready to carry him to the medical bay, but the Cuman called Smee stopped me. It turns out that's an actual expression the Cumans make. My translator said it could be amusement, exasperation, or annoyance. Did I mention that Cuman expressions can mean all kinds of different things? I'm not good at telling the difference, and I don't like it. I've never had this problem on Core 5, and I definitely didn't have it growing up. Why can't they just have nice, obvious frills? No guesswork, no confusion, and no angry predator eyes.
Kirrel shivered again, remembering that ominous moment when the Cumans had all decided, as if by unspoken agreement, that it was time to kill. He might almost have thought they had a hive mind if he hadn't seen so many small squabbles between them already.
The captain said he wanted me to meet someone he calls Hook soon, so I need to finish this quickly. He's outside right now and seems impatient. I haven't gotten the courage to ask him who this John Brown and General Lee are. He looks too predatory when he says those, and one time almost dying is enough for me. Oh, right. The captain has been asking me more and more about the Tizzix. He's starting to push the limits of what I know, and most of the rest is classified. I told him the bounty of the Tizzix the Cumans killed should go to getting some of that information, but I have no idea if he listened or what he's trying to accomplish. If they come back, he can just do it again, so I'm not sure what he's trying to do. Anyway, that's all I have for now. When Doc comes up with more about the Tizzix, I'll send it along. Please don't keep it inside the department. I don't want to have to tell Doc that's what you're doing. Thanks.
Kirrel sent the report and stood, the spines of his frills pulsing a slight yellow. He poked his head outside and fixed his eye on the captain.
Ah, Captain? I'm ready now.
Rad, let's go, Squishy. Kirrel's frills flared a brilliant orange.
I'm not squishy.
Well, not when Hook's done with you, you won't be. The name will probably stick, though.
Of course it will. Nothing ever makes sense with you Cumans.
Kirrel sighed and followed the captain.
This...
He hesitated, then decided to go with the galactic standard for the name, since it had one of the treacherous hissing sounds in it.
This Hook you keep talking about. Have I met them before?
Well, Hook was on the bridge, but you were in a bit of shock at the time. The captain walked past the dining area and was immediately joined by Sleepy, who, true to his name, seemed quite tired. Whoa there, Sleepy. Did you stay up for this? You can't just send the spaceman off to Hook without doing the line. That line's older than the nickname Hook. It's tradition. The translator said that Sleepy's expression was one of mock indignation. Kirrel was learning a lot about how very, very mobile the Cuman's faces were. Fine. You know I hate the line, but fine. The captain knocked on a closed door, behind which some noises sounded. I'll take mixed martial arts for 800, Alex, he muttered. Sleepy seemed extremely happy at this. The door opened to a very slim Cuman. At least, Kirrel thought they were Cuman. They were slim too, and they had the little protrusions on their front, though a bit smaller than the holograms. They were also very dark. Hey there, Hook. Got another squishy for you to sort out, the captain said, pushing Kirrel forward slightly. If we're gonna be making trouble, I want him to have some fight in him. Kirrel's frills flared bright red.
Wait, making trouble? Didn't you already make enough trouble?
Well, the microbe thing is almost sorted out, so as soon as that's handled, we'll be making all kinds of trouble. All kinds. The Cuman they called Hook made the amusement noise at that. Their voice was higher than most, but also lower than the holograms. Don't worry about it, kid. Come in, sit down. We'll have a talk. Kirrel found himself following Hook into the room. There was a lot of some sort of soft material on the floor, along with long cylinders of some sort hanging from the ceiling, and a number of things he couldn't recognize. I don't think we've had face-to-face time before, they commented, sitting down and taking a drink of something very, very blue out of a bottle. You can call me Alex. They call me Hook for other reasons. It's annoying. Just Alex is fine. Kirrel nodded.
Alex is much easier to say. The other has that hissing noise.
He hesitated, his frills bright fuchsia, then asked carefully,
Are you Cuman too? You're not built like the others.
Alex nodded, teeth bared widely. You haven't seen a lot with my build, have you?
Well, there was Bashful. I thought that might be an idealised Cuman build.
Alex doubled over, making the Cuman amusement noise. After several minutes, they sat up, wiping secretions from their eyes. Oh, that's funny. No, not really. That's the female build. I'm a girl.
A girl?
Kirrel paused for a minute, then his eyes opened wide.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Alex waved her hand, teeth bared widely. Don't worry about it. I'm sure there are other weird things you want to ask, but we'll deal with that later. For now, let's see. She stood, looking over Kirrel with a gaze that made him shiver. Raptor build. I'll have to see about balance. Looks like you could do some serious damage with those feet, though. Also maybe with the tail.
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
Kirrel asked hesitantly, his frills pulsing fuchsia and a nervous yellow with spots of teal confusion. Alex's eyes widened and she focused for a moment on his frills. Man, you're just a kaleidoscope, aren't you?
A what?
Kirrel couldn't see what that had to do with anything. Hopefully it doesn't telegraph movements too much. Pensive. Pensive? What was she pensive about? What was going on?
I'm sorry, but what are we doing? And what did the captain mean about trouble?
We're making so much trouble, and right now, I'm getting you ready for it. Alex seemed to stretch for a moment. Come on, Squishy, on the mat. I'm teaching you how to fight the human way. Thanks for listening. This episode was recorded on a holiday of mine, so excuse any creaks and squeaks from that old chair that I was sitting on. Back home soon, and back to my normal recording schedule.